Yes people, how are we doing? Hopefully everyone's good. Welcome to a slightly different unplanned video. Basically, I was going to do a Q&A and long story short, I deleted the story thinking that it would still save on my Instagram archive. It hadn't saved. So the plan was for this video was going to be, I've got a list of content that I need to do, but this is basically going to be your first cycle, okay? So you clicked on the video, you want to know what to do for your first cycle. Now, make the decision that's best for you. I would look upon it and simply ask, have you got a career or have you got a long-term goal to be within the fitness industry and competing at a good level? If so, cool, PDs might be needed. Therefore, go for it. I'm not going to say yes, I'm not going to say no. I said go for it, so technically I've kind of given you your answer there. Now, first thing I would do, blood work. Atlas Labs, Restem. A decent in-depth panel, get somebody to look through. That could be a coach, that could be, let's say if they offer like feedback, but get a coach. They're going to know when it comes to bodybuilding. If you were to get your bloods done at a general hospital and they were to see your, I don't know, your testosterone being lower at the end of a diet or whatever, they go, oh my God, you need TRT, or, you know, let's say for example, your red blood cell count is slightly elevated because you're somebody who exercises a lot in their younger years. They might say you're going to die, when in reality, we're all going to die. But that's probably something you don't need to worry about too much. So get somebody who actually knows how to extensively look through bloods. Get them to look through your bloods. After that, when it comes to what I would deploy for a first cycle, if you go onto Reddit, it's 500 milligrams a test. If you were to go onto a old school bodybuilding.com forum, it's 500 milligrams of test and debulk to kickstart. Both of those are far, far, far from the truth. We've got to look upon it and think you're going to be, let's say most likely, if you're watching this video, you're probably going to be age 18 to 25. Your testosterone is probably going to be anywhere from like 10 nanomole to maybe 25 nanomole. What I would look to deploy is pretty much anywhere from 125 to probably 250 milligrams of testosterone as a first exposure that you slowly titrate up. Now, when it comes to your, let's say, starting point, so we want to keep things really, really simplistic. Testosterone, like I said, is the one that we want to go for. The ester really doesn't matter. When I was starting, I remember reading and going, cypionate, propionate, enanthate, which one do I go for? It doesn't matter, they're all the same when it comes to the actual, like, let's say, compound, which is testosterone, but we want to look upon kind of half-lives and how things peak. Enanthate is easy to work with, okay? I would look upon a minimum of 2 shots per week, so 2 times administration. However, ideally, I would scale this up to the highest amount that you possibly be willing to go for. When I started, I was scared to do 1 shot. It was like, oh, 1 shot, I don't know, I'm scared of this, I don't want to do it. So I did 2 times per week. Looking back, if I was to be honest, I probably could have done 3 to 4, but again, when you're starting out, minimum of 2, don't be doing all in one, and then you're getting a massive spike, and then basically you're going to aromatize. So you're going to get this estrogenic sort of boost as you have a bigger spike. Androgen-wise, you're then going to aromatize more heavily. You do not want to be running into E2 symptoms. Now, let's say, for example, I get somebody who's at 20 nanomole test, I probably start them out maybe at 200 milligrams, depending on, let's say, again, other kind of feedback markers. I would sit at that for legitimately the longest amount of time possible. Sorry, guys. Bean has just jumped in. If I can pick her up. There she is. This has been, she's not actually allowed on the table. I should have told her off. Shouldn't even allowed her on the table. So no, my girlfriend won't like that. Simple. Start out 200 milligrams of test for somebody at, let's say, that nanomole of test. So 200 milligrams deployed relative to kind of where you were hormone wise. Then I would literally stay on that for the longest amount of time possible. So literally rinse everything you can. For me, I think it was a good couple of months until I kind of bumped things up because I really didn't need that level of testosterone. No. There you go. Please do not be adding anything unnecessary. You've got to remember, if you were here and you go to 200 milligrams, you might be sitting potentially slightly out of the reference range. Some people metabolize testosterone really well, some people might not. But either way, you're going to be on most likely a fair bit more than your body's ever going to be used to. So if you start instantly adding, what we've got to remember is your body will get used to it. So I'm not going to say you won't grow if you were to ever scale back down, but it's going to probably be a relatively more challenging amount. You'd have to take more pretty much. You just continue to have to take more. So we don't want that. We want to be getting the most out of the least. So we want to be long-term exposing ourselves to pretty much a super physiological range, 200 milligrams, slowly work that up, reassess after potentially 8 to 12 weeks. Before that, a non-negotiable, get bloods done again. Bloods done again, let's say before you jump on, and then anywhere from probably 6 to 8 weeks on. You could get it really done a little bit earlier. Things will peak after 3 to 4, but I'd like to actually have a little bit of a baseline where basically androgen levels are coming up after the first few weeks, they've then peaked, and then you get them done maybe after 6 to 8 weeks, reassess, see where that's putting you from a general sort of kind of biofeedback marker standpoint. And then what I'd look to do is slowly escalate if needed. If your training is sound, if you're progressing within the gym, if you're feeling stronger, you look like you're putting on tissue, do you need to bump things up? No. Likewise, if you're slack with your nutrition, you're missing sessions, missing meals, sleeping poorly, do you need to bump things up? No, you need to fix them. A term that I always say to clients, and it is a bit of a boring one, but it's performance enhancing drugs, but you don't want to be taking the drug side of things if you can enhance performance within just literally sorting out your diet, training fucking harder, just doing things to a better standard, okay? So make sure all of those basics are getting absolutely nailed, then you can start to add up. What I would look to do is add potentially maybe anywhere from 40 to maybe 60 milligrams of testosterone every single, let's say, bump up until you get to a point where you're probably running into either A, estrogenic symptoms, or B, your blood work is telling you probably can't keep going up based off, let's say, how much you're aromatizing. So based on estrogenic symptoms. Most people, I would find 300 to 400 to 500, 300 to 500 milligrams is probably going to cause some level of E2 symptoms. That's when you'd then pretty much want to look towards a DHT, so Primo or Masteron, and that could be something that you could kind of look upon as a way to drive up more total milligrams. But this will be something that we're talking 6 to 12 months down the line. So let's say someone comes to me January 1st, like I said, 18 to 20 nanomole test. I would look upon, let's say, firstly, they've got the bloods done, wicked. I would then look upon deploying probably around 200 milligrams of testosterone, rinse what you can for many months, then eventually start to bump things up. You go from 200 to 250 to 300 to then 350, oh, we're getting a bit of E2 symptoms, scale things back down to 300. We then look to put in a DHT to continue to drive milligram markers up, and then we go from there, and we basically can rinse that for a good probably 6 to 12 months, do things in a good way, get bloods done, like I said, at the start, then after 6 to 8 weeks, then probably after a couple months, so maybe after 6 months at this point, and then you can go from there. And that's pretty much your introduction towards your PEDs. Further from that, I can happily make more videos if there's any questions or if you need any guidance. Coaching is available, challenging to sort of like prescribe without actually us knowing, let's say, feedback, where you're at, all that sort of stuff. But as an introduction, that's what I do as a first cycle. Take from that as you will. That's the video. Like, comment, subscribe. Coaching slots available, training plans available in bio, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.